I'm making a recipe today that has been requested quite often. So I am really glad you're here, and I bet you're going to be excited about this too. I'm Angela. Welcome to my kitchen. If you follow me on Instagram, it's the same handle on all my social media, Angela's Pantry Obsession. So if you don't follow me, go on over there and go ahead and follow, because I share a lot of my day-to-day dinners and somewhat of like a food vlog style. And whenever I share that I'm opening my jar of the caponata, it is always in my inbox of people asking me, what's the recipe? So I've had that same request here on YouTube as well. And so I'm really happy to share with you today. It uses eggplant, tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, capers, olives, garlic, all the like incredible ingredients that just seem to marry one another quite beautifully. So it's a Sicilian dish from my understanding, and so there's no surprise, of course, that it involves all of these absolute wonderful ingredients. Eggplant is something that I grew for the first time this year. Also, if you can hear banging behind me, I apologize. We've got a construction project going on right outside this window over here. So I got this from the farmer's market because it's big and beautiful, and I probably should have gotten two, but I wasn't sure really how much I would need. I couldn't remember off the top of my head how much I would need. But I did grow all these little tiny baby eggplants. I don't know if it's the variety that I'm growing. I'm gonna have to look back on my notes, or maybe something's going on with the plant, because I've attempted to leave these on my plant. I just figured when I was ready for them is when I would grow them, or when I would pick them. But I guess that's not the case with eggplant, because they really start to discolor. And I'm assuming that means they're overripe at that point in time. So I'm actually gonna cut this one open and see what it might look like. I don't know if I can use it or not. But I do know, according to the recipe, I need, which, where on earth did it go? Over here. Which I am getting from the Fall Blue Book. This is the 38th edition, and if you see a fly around here, it's driving me absolutely bonkers. It's the 38th edition, and I believe it just maybe came out. I think it's somewhat of the newer edition. 2024. So caponata sauce, page 109, and of course it's listed under the sauces. So we need 2 pounds of eggplants, and in parentheses it says about 2 small. Well, I wouldn't constitute this as a small eggplant by any means. So I'm going to weigh and see. This is 1 pound, 14 ounces. So I'm gonna weigh and see how many of my eggplants added, how much I have, because I'm gonna let my eggplant tell me how many batches I'm going to make today. I also grew the white variety, which definitely needs to be used up, and I'm just gonna throw that in there as well. So I have 4.7 pounds, which means I can make 2 batches, and I am perfectly okay with that. I didn't necessarily want more than that. I don't need more than that. I have just a couple jars still left over from last year. And in prior years, I canned my caponata in, I think 12-ounce jars. I'm doing full pints this year because I absolutely love it. And the only downfall, I guess, is with the 12-ounce jars, it made a perfect dish for one person. That was sort of my go-to meal if I found myself just having to feed me. So a pint will feed my husband and I probably just perfectly. My daughter doesn't like eggplant, so I don't have to worry about her. My my nephew wants nothing to do with anything that's up here, so unless you're turning it into a pizza sauce. So I think that'll be just fine. It'll be a good go-to meal with maybe lunch left over the next day for me, whatever the case may be. But I pretty much only have quarts and pints left at this point, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and do pints. I'm gifting several jars to my mom as well, and sometimes I like to pass along jars to people who seem interested, and if someone wants to try it, I will have extra jars for them as well. This recipe is different, however, than a recipe that I've used the last time. And for the life of me, I can't find where I got that recipe from. I looked in every single one of my canning books, and it's not in there. I know I didn't make it up. I got it from somewhere, so I was grateful to find it in this one anyhow. So that's the recipe I'm gonna go by. The difference I can tell you that I'm not exactly mad about is this recipe has me roasting the eggplant first and pretty much then scooping out the flesh and leaving the skin aside. I'm pretty sure in my last batch, and the next time I open a jar, I'll have to pay attention, but I don't think I did that. I think we just chopped it up into some favorable sized pieces, and I threw it in a big stock pot with all my ingredients and let it simmer for a little while before jarring it up. So I'm curious to see what the flavor difference, however, is, because I know when you roast things, oh, what a difference that makes. And so it has me roasting the eggplant. I'm actually going to also roast my tomatoes with it. Why not? So I'm going to get things measured out, because as far as the tomatoes, it tells me I need 4 pounds of plum tomatoes. I'm just using whatever tomatoes I still have coming in from my garden. We need peppers, and it says 2 medium red peppers. I have orange. I picked all of my red not long ago. At this point in the game, I don't think any of them are gonna turn red. We don't have enough time. However, I have these beautiful peppers. They're ginormous, and guess what? I don't know what they are. There was a big blunder with labeling my plant starts this year, and so I threw peppers into the ground when they were just little seedlings. I had no idea what I was growing. I could have literally ended up with 30 jalapeno plants for all I knew. I didn't know what I was growing. I generally knew that there was going to be a variety. I just didn't know what. So these are definitely one of my favorites. These are called Delights, I think. I had yellow, red, and orange in these, and they're just beautiful. And then my bell peppers, they just look like mini pumpkins. I don't know how people get them to be super big, but they still taste fantastic. If you know what this pepper is though, please tell me. I'm gonna be chopping some and taste testing it to see if it's spicy or not. Because if it's not spicy, then I'm going to probably throw some of these in there because they're red, they're beautiful, and I don't know what it is. I know some of the peppers that I wanted to grow this year, and for the life of me, I don't know that I can remember choosing this, but I have a couple plants out there and they're all big like this, and they're just wonderful. So maybe you can help me. We also need onions and garlic, of course, and then the recipe also calls for capers. If you don't know what capers are, I honestly don't know either. I just know that it always says I don't even know how to, I always say non-perils, but I don't know how that's pronounced. So if you know what a caper is, I think I looked it up at one point, and even trying to find the answer still didn't really answer my question, but they're salty. So they're much like a olive, what an olive would offer you. They're wonderful. I love putting them in Spanish rice and all kinds of things. So it asks that you put in capers and olives. My recipe last year, I used green olives. This recipe tells me to use Kalamata. I haven't decided what I want to do yet because I love both of them. I do have a little bit of a struggle thinking about using the Kalamata though, I don't know why my brain wants to associate that with more of a Greek style dish. So I've not fully decided. I can see where the depth of flavor would come into play and it would probably be fantastic, but I might have to stick with my green olives. I haven't made my mind up yet, so stick around, we'll see what I decide to do. But before I do any of that, I have to wash my eggplant and my other vegetables. I just picked all of these straight from my garden a little bit ago. So I gotta get everything washed up, and then I'm gonna get some veggies starting to roast here in my oven. And once that's all done, we'll come back and we'll talk about the next step. I'm happy to report that those really large peppers are not spicy, they're sweet. So I'm wondering if they're, I think it's called like an Italian roasting pepper or something like that. I don't know, but it's kind of exciting that I have so many of them out there. I definitely did not want it to be spicy, that's for sure. I have way too many spicy peppers for that. So I'm just gonna get my tomatoes lined up here after they've been washed and basically cored. I think I'm gonna need another roasting pan. I don't like that one. Didn't seem to get cleaned very well. I've got several roasting pans in there in the freezer right now. Might need to do this in batches. I have got my jars heating up on the stove behind me. I have my tomatoes peeled and in my pot over here, and I'm going to get everything else in except for my peppers and the eggplant pulp. We're gonna reserve that to the end. We don't want it to cook down too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my onions in. I did get a little ahead of myself and I needed to free up some space on my pans because I had both my ovens going tonight because I had to get dinner in the oven as well. So not thinking, I put the tomatoes here in the pot, and I really should be sauteing my onions a little bit, so that's okay. I'm going to let my tomatoes, onions, and garlic simmer for a little while, and it'll be just fine. There's a lot of stuff that happened, and I had to go and take a few minutes and step away. So it's actually a little bit later than when I first started. Sometimes that happens. Okay, I have the burner on. I'm gonna let this simmer for a little bit. In the meantime, we have capers and olives that need to go in. We need a half a cup of capers. I'm doubling the recipe. So I don't know how much one little jar is. So I'm thinking It looks to be about, this is a 1/4 cup, so it looks like one of these jars is a 1/2 cup, which is 2.5 ounces in case you need to go get it. So I'm doubling, so I'm going to go ahead and add 2 jars. And it does want you to drain it. I imagine that brine is very salty and you probably don't want that. So I'm gonna just make sure all the rest of my ingredients are ready to throw in when ready. I did decide I'm gonna go ahead and go with the green olives. I know I liked it the last time, and again, I can't get away from those Kalamata olives being more of a Greek thing for me. So I'm going to drain off the brine from the olives as well. We need a 1/2 cup of red wine vinegar. Quarter cup of water. All right, so I pretty much have everything measured out and ready to go in, aside from a couple, like a little bit of sugar, salt, and pepper kind of thing. So I do believe I have everything. I'm gonna let this simmer for a little while. It's already warming through, so it shouldn't take too long. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of pepper, kind of to your liking. I would not do a ton of pepper though, because I've not experienced it, but I have heard that pepper can kind of really become really strong through the canning process. At least pressure canning. This is a water bath canning recipe. I don't know if I said that in the beginning. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon of sugar. Actually, it says to do 2 tablespoons of sugar. I don't think I'm gonna double that. I'll taste it and see. I'm sure it's for the acidity. So I'll taste that and decide what I wanna do. We'll do some salt. About a tablespoon or so. This is gonna make quite a bit, so you don't need too much though, because we've got salt in the capers and olives, of course. I'm going to put those in here because we want to give these a chance to really get warmed through as well. I'm gonna add my vinegar and my water. I think I'm gonna give everything a stir, and we're gonna be back in 20 minutes to finish adding everything. And I'll let you see what it all looks like then. Although it doesn't look very pretty, once eggplant has been roasted, it is going to taste amazing. And you do want to cube it or chop it up the best that you can before it goes into the pot. gonna give this a really good stir, and we're gonna let it cook for about 5 to 10 minutes on a simmer. It does not need to come up to a boil, but you do want a pretty good simmer going on. You really don't want to cook the eggplant and peppers for too much longer, because you do want a little bit of sustenance still when you go to open that jar and eat it. This is also the time here in a minute or two, once it's simmered for a little bit, to give it a taste test to see if you need to adjust any seasonings. I only added that little bit of sugar, so I will check to see if I need more sugar in here, if it's tasting a little too acidic. Now's the time to do that. How it tastes right now is how it's gonna go into the jar. And so if you don't like the way it is now, you're not gonna like it when you open the jar. So good. Now this is about the time where if my husband looked in this pot, he would tell me it needed more olives, but you have to trust the recipe when it comes to the water bathing. You could always add more of anything when you open the jar and serve it. You could certainly add more olives at that time if you wish. But that tastes absolutely amazing, so I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to let it simmer for a couple more minutes before getting it into the jar. Watch out, Sadie girl. Got hot food. All right, hot jars, hot food, hot canner. We are ready to go. This has thickened up so nicely. Oh, you know what I don't have? My funnel. You know what else I don't have? I did not come prepared. Oh my gosh. Let me go get my rag. Okay, hot jars, hot food, hot canner, ready to jar up. This has thickened up so nicely. I'm telling you, the flavor is amazing. I really hope you give this a try. If you like all of the food that I just put into this stock pot, there is absolutely no reason you won't love this. And I keep everything pretty well in good sizes, because when I serve this over noodles, I want to see everything it is that I just put on my plate. We're gonna do 1 inch of headspace. Looks like I got a little too much in there. Get that out. Got a little excited, I guess. So how are you going to eat this? Well, quite honestly, there's probably lots of ways you can eat it. The only way I eat it is over angel hair pasta. Very specifically angel hair pasta. It's my absolute favorite. Regular spaghetti I'm sure works just fine, but something about that really thin angel hair pasta, let me tell you. Now, if you make this and maybe not necessarily jar it up, let me know down in the comments how you enjoy it. Maybe you've ordered it at a restaurant and had it some way. Let us all know, because as much as I enjoy this, I would be very excited to try it many other ways. I imagine you could probably treat it to some degree kind of like a bruschetta as well. So, you know, that's kind of food for thought. That looks so beautiful. Definitely another jar you're gonna have to label because you may not know right off the bat looking at this what it is. Actually forgot I was doing multiple jars at a time. So let's just do a little recap here on what we did with everything. So we roasted our tomatoes, our peppers, our eggplant. We chopped our onion. You can mince your garlic. I chose to just chop it like over and over and over and over and over and over again, because I like being able to see those little bits of garlic in there, but you could certainly mince it. And then also, full transparency, my mincer was in the dishwasher and I didn't feel like cleaning it because I haven't ran the dishwasher yet. I was going to after this canning session, and believe it or not, it felt like more work to do that than just to quickly like mince it up by hand. But I do enjoy it that way too. Let's see, what else did we have to do? In terms of our produce, I think that's all we had to do, right? Peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, we took care of in the oven. And the reason we did that was so we could take the skins off. Now, the tomatoes, quite honestly, I don't always do that step. Sometimes I just dice them up and throw them in here. Skins on the tomatoes do not bother me, but I decided since I've got stuff going in the oven anyhow, I might as well just take that extra step this time around, so I did. Peppers, same thing. You're pretty much just blistering the peppers to take the skins off. If you have a different method in doing that, then absolutely do that instead. So I have like such a little bit amount left here in my pot, and I can tell you what, I'm not even gonna let that go to waste. Can you see just that little bit down there? I will find a way to enjoy that. Absolutely, that's so much flavor in there. I'm not going to let that go to waste. So I got 12 pints. That makes me a happy, happy girl. Nose edges. As much as I love cracking open a jar of meat, whether it's beef, pork, or chicken, to make a really quick dinner, this is probably more preferable to me than a can of soup. Just because, I don't know how that lid got in there. Just because I'm such a carb loving girl, I love pasta of all sorts, and so and then here's a tip. When you cook your angel hair pasta, if it is just you or you and one other person and you have leftover pasta, go ahead and freeze it. And what I do the next time I want to cook something for just me, I go and get that frozen pasta, I boil my water, and I get it to a boil. It doesn't have to be like a hard, rapid boil, but get it to a boil. Turn off the pot, the stove, put your bag of noodles in there and let them warm through that way. This way the heat is warming it, but putting it in the water won't continue cooking them, and they come out absolutely fantastic. And if they're not warm enough once they're thawed, I mean, you could simply microwave it really quickly or drop the noodles out of the bag into the pot of water and like almost immediately pull it out. But I find that to be more messy, I guess. You know, why do that if you don't have to? Okay, I'm gonna put these in the other canner, 20 minutes process time. And we will all do a celebration dance together when we get these out of the canner. It looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm waiting on the other canner. It took a little bit longer to come up to a boil, so they're looking so good. 12 pints of caponata on my shelf. Well, maybe not 12. I will be gifting a few of these to my mom especially. I know it seems like it was a lot of work getting everything roasted, peeling the skins off, but you know what? I had to do all of that work just today, and I get to benefit from it at most 12 times. And I don't have to do anything when I'm in the mood to crack this jar open, heat it up, put it over top of some angel hair pasta, drizzle a little extra virgin olive oil over the top, and make it the good stuff too. Some Parmesan cheese, a glass of wine, and you are going to have the best dinner ever. I really am trying to not like get super excited and really hype this up, because I know sometimes that can actually seem like it's a false kind of excitement. But I am telling you, this is so flavorful. It is so delicious, and I really hope you try this. Again, the recipe is from the Ball Blue Book. I'm not sure where I got the other recipe from. Nothing changed, honestly, aside from roasting things in the beginning, and they suggested the Kalamata olives. Absolutely something you can do if you choose to do that. And if you do try the Kalamata, please let me know. I could open a jar, add a few Kalamatas while it's cooking on the stovetop, just warming through. I could certainly do that too if I kind of want to give a taste for it and see how I would like to do it next year. If you think salsa is a fantastic way of opening a jar and getting the sense of having summer all over again in the middle of a blizzard in January, this will certainly do that for you too. I absolutely love the sound of those sealing. So I'm going to leave this video with another little video that I made for my Instagram page showing how I put this together. It takes as long as it did to cook my noodles, and that my dinner was done. So it's incredibly quick, easy, and incredibly delicious. I'll see you again the next time we're in the kitchen.